Yeah, I love that video. For those of you who are thinking about coming to class, you may not be able to put it together as fast as Jeremy just did, but he's pretty much, that wasn't too fast, I don't think. That wasn't high speed. He's pretty good at that. Thanks for that video, Jeremy. And thanks to Kevin and Catherine. That was a fun conversation. I have to add in my own 2 cents about, having favorite teachers. Jeremy's class was amazing, but Catherine's was also one of my favorites. I think they're both online now, and I'm not pandering, but we do have preferences about the people who really excite us in those classes and get us moving in our careers. Now we're gonna jump back to Michigan. My next guest, or our next guest, is a graduate from 2018. And I gotta tell you, looking over this guy's resume, he's like the James Brown of MPI graduate. He's the hardest working man in the show business. He's got stuff up here. He's worked in art departments as a production coordinator, manager, camera department, electrical department, location scout. His films and projects he's worked on have been on Netflix, NBC, A&E. It's just incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel like I need some James Brown music to play here. Kelly Colohan, thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you, Scott.
No,
and just so that everybody knows what Jeremy did with that camera, you learn how to do, and you do it. I think we did it by the 3rd semester. So, and I had no idea what I was doing when I walked in.
Mm-hmm. Tell us more about that. How you walked in. It's kind of an interesting story how you found the school.
Well, my son and I always loved film, and so when he was graduating in 2017. So we started going to all the programs, the open houses. And we went to MPI'S and watched and loved it. And then he went to the other universities in town and decided that he wanted to do a 4-year degree instead of the 1-year program. So I asked if he'd mind if I went. And he said, no, go ahead. And so I went and loved it. And so after 2 months, I had already written my first short, directed it, edited it, and we started to review it in class and had it posted on YouTube. And he looked at me and he asked after that first semester of school, he goes, do you mind if I drop out of university and go to MPI?
Did we lose Kelly? We got to hear the story, man. They can't do this to James Brown.
Yeah, I know. Murphy's Law, right? Hey, Catherine, can I put you on the hot seat for a second to talk a little bit about some of the things that Kelly was just referring to?
Should I tell Kelly's story?
Yeah, let's tell his story. I'm waiting for him to
Well,
log back.
Kelly's son Andrew came the next year, and he just graduated this past October. So now we've got 2 Colahans as graduates. It was a lot of fun. Kelly was a good student. He was really into it and found his way. And one thing about Kelly, I'm sure he'll say this, is Kelly will, because he learned everything, we teach sort of everything, he will do anything. He can do anything on a set. And one of his first gigs was The Amazing Race when they came into Michigan. And so he got on, right? Many of our students and graduates got on that show. And of course they loved him, and they put him with cast. And then from there, he got other calls. I think his first call was ESPN. I'm sort of stealing his story here. But he has then continued to work on all of these projects because, like Kevin said in Atlanta, once you are known, then people start calling you. When productions come into town, they call the last production and say who was good. And, they get those crew lists. And if your name is on there and you got a star next to it, you get a call. So Kelly has been working consistently. And is he back? No. One of the things that Kelly has done, and other graduates from years ago have done too, is because they know the program and they know the talent that is in the school, they become employers. Kelly has production managed commercial, big national commercials or shows, and he will call MPI to get his crew because he knows what they know. He knows he can trust them. So he'll call, and when he's got a show and he needs to crew up, he'll give us a call. lots of our graduates will do that. They've moved up the food chain, and they call us when they need people because they know, the caliber of graduate that we have.
Okay, looks like we've got him joining us in a moment. So Scott, you can finish that cool story with him in a moment. So
I just said everything.
yeah, there you go.
Oops. Don't tell them.
Oh, no.
Right.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kelly. Catherine came in and was basically had to talk for you for a minute. She told some of your story, but please finish the story she was telling if you remember where you got cut out.
I'm worried about the stories that Catherine told.
All good.
So I started because of my son, and so that worked out well. But moving from there, since I lost some time, I'll go ahead and jump right into the next thing so that we can keep this thing rolling. MPI, one of the things I always loved film. I knew nothing about it, and I realized how much I didn't know once I went to MPI. So what was interesting was just how to tell a story, and just how to be able to break it down and be able to start it, build that tension, have the beat, have that moment, and how you resolve it, and just how you do that multiple times through a story. And so I know we talk about the technical aspects, but for me, learning how to tell a story properly was probably one of the first things that I really got out of it. The second thing from a technical standpoint was making mistakes. You get to screw up on set. You get to make the wrong decision. Or I remember after my first film and we were in class and Jeremy was looking at it and we're looking at it from a technical standpoint. And I was so proud of how it was going. And he goes, you're out of focus. You don't have focus. You don't have, well, we know the rest of that story.
Yeah.
But then every time on set, you go, am I tack sharp? And do I got this thing right on? Am I level? Do I have this shot level? These are things that you just learn to practice over and over again. You will find that the grips in the electrical department on set can be quite harsh. And if you do something wrong, they will let you know you did something wrong. And they will let you know very loudly and very soon. You get to make no mistakes. And Jeremy is probably one of the sweetest grip and electric guys you'll ever meet. So if you're going to screw up with him. And then when you get on set, then people are sitting there staring at you going, how do you know this stuff? How long have you been doing it? And I go, well, this is my third gig. And they go, what? It's not your third gig. Well, that's how you get started, is you learn how to do it there. You make the mistakes there. And then when you get out there, you learn the terminology. When somebody says, I need, flying on a hot brick, or, go get a 12 by out of the grip truck, you know what they're talking about. And they don't have to explain it to you. Okay, go get the big piece of material that's rolled up, and you already know it. So those are the things that you'll learn on set immediately, as opposed to, I've worked with a lot of those graduates that came out of the universities, and they're like, what are they asking for? What are they talking about? How do you put the walkie on?
Oh, wow.
Basics.
Like basic stuff here. Yeah. So now while you were trying to get back on, Catherine talked about how many different things you do. You said you didn't know anything about film, and now we see you doing so many different tasks. Do you have any favorites? Do you have any specialties, or do you really just love it all?
Well, and it was so funny while Kevin was talking, I'm going, yep. I just agreed with so much of what Kevin was bringing to the conversation, because I was the same way. And when you walk into that first class, usually a chunk of the class knows what path they want to go down. And I had no idea. Of course, everybody says, I want to be a director. Okay, and for some people that is a perfect path, but it's because they've related being behind the camera with being a director. Well, there's only one director. I'm on set with 70 people. There's one director, there's one DP, there's a gaffer, there's a best boy, then there's all the departments, and everybody has to do the job. And if everybody's not there doing what they're supposed to do, then you don't make a film. So it doesn't matter if the director is there or not, if everybody else isn't there. So you need the full team to be able to actually make something. So I just enjoy the creation of film in any aspect. I've been in the art department, I've been in locations, I've been in grip, I've been in camera, I've been in production on the production side as a producer, and it's fun. All of it's fun. Now, the only thing I haven't really done a whole lot of script supervision. Not me. Too much detail.
That's a thing, a special kind of awareness, I think.
Yeah, Amber is the queen. I know a lot of people don't know who Amber is, but go look up Amber Harley and Harley Smith, and you'll see the queen of script supervisors and what you can really get to when you come out of here.
Right.
But to Kevin's point, you have to pay attention. You've got to engage. It's up to you to take it out of the class. It's there. And if you work, you'll get it. You'll get all of it.
Cool. What were your latest projects? I don't know. Things are on pause right now. I don't know if you have something going on.
The latest one was a Steven Soderbergh film that was going to be filmed in Detroit. I was an assistant location manager on that one, and we were just getting ready to start when the shutdown happened. So that's on hold until the next one. I don't have a problem doing anything as far as type of work. I do commercials, I do documentaries, I do reality TV, I do regular TV, I'll do feature film. To me, it's all telling a story. And that's back to that, a 30-second commercial can tell just as riveting of a story as now Quibi's going to come out and do 10-minute chunks of storytelling, basically shorts. You're going to get a bunch of shorts on Quibi or episodic TV. No reason not to do any of it, in my opinion, because you gain experience. And I've met so many people in the industry that are so much better. And I've worked on, at this point, I've done over 50 gigs, and my exposure to different groups and different people, I have a Rolodex. So when I do produce, or I'm a production manager on a job and I have to fill out crew, I've got all the people I need to call. I can fill out a crew in a day and a half. So depending on what we're trying to do. So those are the connections and the networking that you make, and you learn how to make to jump ahead. The very first job I ever got was because of Catherine. She got a call from Amazing Race when they were in Detroit in summer of 2018. And luckily, school was on break for a week, and the filming coincided right with the break. So I got on there, and the producer I met on there ended up calling me back on a different job, and she's actually probably responsible for about 80% of the jobs I've worked on. Either she's referred me or she's brought me back onto other gigs. So awesome.
So networking again is one of the best
huge
things.
Yeah. That's why when Kevin was talking about it, I was just nodding. I'm a freelancer. I work a gig. It could be a 1-day gig. It could be a 3-day gig. It could be a 2-week gig. But when I'm done, I'm waiting for the next job. And the only way I get the next job is because somebody calls me up and says, hey, we got to, I've been lucky enough not to have to reach out at this stage. And, probably a good 3-4 months into work, and I didn't have to reach out to anybody and ask. I usually just I could pretty much bet I'd get a call every single week for something for the next week or something coming up.
Because people know that you have the talent and you have the ethic. Awesome.
Well, and that's really the other thing is you got to start small. You got to be willing. I was perfectly happy setting up the food truck or, picking up the garbage afterward or doing a sweep of a set after the job was over, because that's what it takes. And, to tell a story, a production manager, a local production manager that's responsible for hiring crew, was doing a favor for a friend and worked as a PA on a Nike commercial. Now the Nike commercial had $1 million budget. This thing was huge. And we shut down parts of Detroit for days, and it was a lot of fun. Well, I was a PA on it, and I was working with this guy, and he never told me who he was, just paid attention. And then I find out later at an after party, after we did the shoot, it was a week-long shoot. He said, I usually PM. I did this as a favor to my buddy. He goes, "Will you come work for me?" I go, "Well, yeah." And then he got a call from a group up in that was going to shoot a 2-week shoot up in the Upper Peninsula in Traverse City. I spent all summer just going along the shoreline and beaches and shooting gorgeous scenery. And because he referred me to it, he gave my name. And just for the parents out there, 2 weeks, I made almost 10 grand. So you can't argue. It's not a bad payday. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Kelly, we're running out a little time. Thank you so much for your time and jumping back on with the technical glitch and sharing your experience.
Sure.
All right. Appreciate that. Next, we're going to see a quick video about MPI's acting in film camps.
Whether you're finishing high school, switching careers, or looking for an exciting gap year opportunity, follow these 3 easy steps to begin your journey in the motion picture production industry at MPI. First, even before you apply, we encourage you to take MPI's 3-minute career readiness quiz. It's a fun and engaging way to see how your goals, experiences, and interests align themselves with careers in the film industry. Next, you can schedule a virtual visit. Our team is ready to answer your questions, share our facilities and student projects, and you can even chat with some of our alumni and faculty. When you're ready, you can begin the process by filling out our quick and easy online film program application. Once submitted, we'll get back to you right away, and we'll be there to assist you through the rest of the application process. Sound good? We at MPI can't wait to see you online, on set, and on track toward your exciting career in film.
One question that popped up, and it pops up all the time, and I'm going to actually see if Kurt, our CFO, can take this, deals with financial aid, possible scholarships. As students are approaching this tuition, it's about $14,700 for 12 months. I'm going to turn it over to Kurt and see if you can help us out with some of that.
Can you hear me okay, Kevin?
We can, thank you.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Kurt Mary. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of the school, also Director of Education. And you students usually come to me in the application process when they start asking questions about financing and the cost of tuition, as Kevin had mentioned. And I have a little bit of a slideshow here I'll share with you. Okay, good. It's hard to tell from this end. Okay, so what's it cost to go to our school? I think some of the graduates had commented briefly when they were talking about their experiences that the one thing that was sort of a lure, I guess, was the fact that our school was relatively inexpensive. And our philosophy as a school in general, when we started this back 20 plus years ago, was to try to make a school that was accessible to just about anybody. One of the hardest things to do is to kind of walk into a film industry saddled with hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars of debt while you're trying to freelance. And we always felt that the college model, which while you do get a degree in a particular field, isn't necessarily required for making it into the film industry. You can learn a lot of the technical skills and a lot of the things to be just dangerous enough to get there and get paid for what you know. And so we always tried to kept that in mind when we were crafting this program as a one-year school. And we also approached it too originally as a film school when we first started out, as because we were independent filmmakers, the ones involved in the formation. We knew how hard it was to get a film made, when you go out and do your own project. And again, what kind of program could we design that would allow students while they're here to begin working on projects that they could take, while they're in school, and then when they leave, continue them on and maybe make a feature film. So we've tried to keep costs really contained so that students wouldn't be again saddled with an extraordinary amount of debt. And as years have gone on, the program has grown. We've moved into a much larger facility. Behind me here is just there's a sound stage. It's about a little over 6,000 square feet, and we have another stage behind that one. It's another 3,000 square feet, and then we've got a bigger part of the school. So if you visit here, you'll see it's quite a large facility. And so our tuition has gone up slightly over the years. But we're at this coming year, people always ask, well, what does it cost to attend the program? And as Kevin mentioned, it's $14,700, and that includes every the commitment deposit that students pay when they sign up to enroll, which is a security deposit. Then we have two fees that are also involved in that. There's a $150 registration fee and then a $150 technology fee. And one of the things that we also mentioned in this is that the school provides all the equipment. Students don't have to buy anything when they come here. We have a computer lab with 25 workstations that all have editing software on them and budgeting and scheduling software and a bunch of other stuff. We have all the cameras here, lighting equipment, grip and electric. These things all need to be maintained by the school. We're always buying new stuff. The boxing video Kevin showed of Jeremy assembling that camera really fast is an example of that. We just got those cameras really a couple months back. So we're constantly having to innovate here and stay on top of what's coming out. One of the things that extraneous costs that students need to be aware of when they come to film schools, they need to consider buying a hard drive, usually like a portable hard drive, 2 terabytes, usually plenty enough, maybe an SD card. And this is really to back up their films. When you come here, you're in the first term of the program, you're making your first film. And you need a place to kind of store all that media. We have computers here, but I certainly wouldn't want you to store everything here. And if we have a crash, everything goes away. So it's very important that you have your own backup content. So the total cost of attendance really is around $15,125 when you factor all those in. People often ask, well, what about my films? Does the school pay for my films? And well, no, we don't pay for your movies. That could actually be one of those things that get out of hand if you're not careful. But we try to have students sit down and in Catherine's class, the production management class, we talk about what it takes and what it costs to make your films. And typically it can be $0 to thousands of dollars. I've had students spend thousands of dollars on their film projects. Those that have the money can do that, of course. But you try to make it as cheaply as possible. And usually it's things like food or gas. Those are some extraneous costs. When we do a film here to students, we do an open audition call in the winter, and we do one in the spring, and the actors show up and audition for student films. And it's under the pretense that the actors aren't going to get paid. They're going to volunteer their time to work on student films, and in exchange they get experience of being in a film, and they make great friends and networking contacts, maybe if these filmmakers move on into the professional world. So it's kind of a quid pro quo and kind of situation. So we really try to keep the costs contained. And ironically, students make about 3 films when they're here. They make 2 required films in the first 2 terms, and then there's a thesis film that they can make, which is optional. But when you factor in, if you were to go and make these projects on your own, not going to school and having to get the equipment, the lighting, pay the crew, you're spending probably equal to the tuition to make those 3 films. So it's actually quite a value when you factor that in. Textbooks, we don't have required textbooks that are required for students to purchase. We provide all that material. We have a learning management system that has a lot of things that we put up on there that are in-house materials that students study from. We do have a library here, though, that students can access, and we do some classes require that you use the library for certain study materials. But we provide all of that, and students can check out textbooks and DVDs and a variety of other things, screenplays. As I just mentioned, the library. So living expenses, we had Emma came here from Nigeria. So, if you're coming from out of the area, if you're coming up from out of state, you have to think about if you have a family member you can stay with. Obviously, that's going to curtail some costs, but there are things that you have to take into account when you come out here, and as getting an apartment or a flat. Typically you're spending, $600 to $1,000 a month, depending on how big the apartment is and where it's located here in the Detroit area. We're in Troy, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit, just about 8 miles north of Detroit. Travel is gas, oil, auto insurance. We don't really have much of a public transportation system here in Michigan, but people do get around. I had a couple of other Nigerian students a couple of years ago who lived about a mile away from here, and they would take Uber here, and it was, I guess, affordable enough they could stay in a house and then Uber over, or bicycle when it was warm. There's things like airfare. Of course, there's food, clothing, hygiene, things like that. One thing I'll mention too about travel is there's no parking fees here at the school. There's free parking, and we don't have toll roads in Michigan. Unlike Florida and some other states where you drive on the freeway, you got to stop. We just have lots of potholes, so that sort of makes up for that. Financing options. Kevin mentioned about financial aid. We're not part of the Title IV process yet. We're actually applying to it. And so I put stay tuned on there because in the coming months, we hope to be approved. But I can't tell you for sure. If I were to give you a timeline, we're hoping to have notification sometime in late July. How that would impact incoming students would be, if we're approved, then anybody who's eligible for Title IV or Pell or things like that could apply for it at that time. And we don't start until September, so obviously there is definitely a benefit, obviously, to being able to access that for the coming school year. Outside of that, if you're not going to go the federal student aid route, if it becomes available, students typically, how we've kind of run the program for the last 20 plus years, is students that pay in full prior to the start of the program. Usually we have a deadline. It's August 10th to if you're accepted into the program and you sign an enrollment agreement, that you work out your financing by August 10th. If you enroll after August 10th, then you have to work out the financing upon enrollment. So if you're not paying in full, many people do prefer to do that because they don't like that to finance things. We have a good number of people actually just pay off the tuition upon entry. You can enter into a payment plan. The school does offer an in-house payment plan. So in lieu of not having Title IV yet, you can enter into an in-house plan, and we try to get that worked out by August 10th. Or if you enroll after August 10th, then upon enrollment we work out a plan with you. But we have a variety of plans that we've offered. 6 months to 36 months are typical. Interest rates are charged for financing, so obviously it's a benefit to pay in advance or pay the tuition up front, so you don't have to run into interest rates. But the longer the term of the plan, the higher the rate. All plans do require a $1,000 commitment deposit, which goes towards the tuition, and then an additional down payment, which can vary. We come up with a plan with you, and the reason that we offer that or require that is that it affects the size of the monthly payment. People will say, well, how much am I going to pay per month? Well, it depends on how long you're financing. You're going to divide what you owe by the number of months that your plan is. So the length of the plan varies, and we have worksheets and matrices and calculators and things like that. So if you're interested in that option, you would meet with me, and I'll go over that real process real quick. How to apply for a payment plan is to we have an application. You would fill it out. It's just a simple one-page application. You turn that into our admissions office, and then you would probably meet with me either on Zoom, since we're in quarantine, or in person. If that goes away, and we go over the different options that we have with the payment plans and try to work out something with you. Once that's detailed or worked out, then we sign a payment plan agreement. And if you're a young person or someone who's got a limited credit history or poor credit history, you may need a cosigner. Sometimes it's for the high school students, a parent or a guardian or something along those lines. If the student makes the payments, if it's payments longer than the school year, then if the student makes regular payments beyond the school year or during the school year on time, usually we'll let the cosigner go after that. So the students would pay a refundable commitment deposit, the down payment, and then have their payments scheduled after that. And that's it for that, Kevin. Anything else you want to add?
No, I was just encouraging anybody who's got any financial questions to give us a call. Kurt's really good at working with people, coming up with what they can afford each month, and kind of working backwards from that. So I've seen him do some magic. So please let us know what your situation is, and we'll try to work with you.
I do have one that that's come in, and I think this is a really great Catherine question. Do you have any advice for prospective students and parents as they're coming in on how they can career path or start to explore the different career possibilities and line up their skill sets with those prior to enrolling or as they're like looking at the process of starting school?
Okay. Yeah, no, I think what Kevin and Kelly said is probably a good thing. You come in and you sort of learn it all. A lot of people have one idea in mind, and then they find themselves interested in something else. So their path changes. And, you don't know until you know. Lots of times you don't even know things that are going on a set. The art department is something that a lot of people aren't familiar with. But, we've had students this year say, I really like the art department. I really like props. I really like, or getting locations. I really like that. It's not something that you would think of automatically at a film school because you automatically think of writing and directing. But there's a lot of other positions in the crew. In a crew that you could be, and I think you should allow yourself to learn those positions and see what the best fit is for you. Don't think that you have blinders on. I'm going to direct. I want to direct, and then when you actually do direct, it's like, well, I'm not that good at it, or I really didn't like it. There's other things to go. So to answer the question, is to keep an open mind. And then at the end of the day, you can sort of look back and say, okay, I really enjoyed that, and that's the path I want to take.
And then quick follow-up for you while I have you here. Is it common for students as they're enrolled at MPI to have internships or to be working on a set while they're in school, or do they have to wait till post-graduation?
We kind of frown upon them working on a set early on because they're in school and they don't know enough. I mean, some people, they have their own YouTube things that they're doing continuously, but, and there are occasions where we'll get a call, and if it's late enough in the school year, we will recommend, we'll put our students, our currents on a project like Kelly said with the Amazing Race that happened to fall at the right time in the school year. But we really like you to concentrate on school. You'll have plenty of time to make your films, and we keep you very busy. You're making a film, 2 films. In the first 2 terms, you're making 2 films, and you're working on other people's films. And then if you want to make a thesis film, if you want to do that capstone project as a director, then that's going to keep you busy. And if you're not directing, you're going to be crewing. So we do keep you busy. And the focus, it's a year. That's why it's a year long, to learn and then move on. So we want you to focus on school.
Cool. Thanks, Catherine.
The answer is, when you graduate, you're allowed to be part of our career opportunities group. And then you get all of the jobs that come up, go to that group, but not until you graduate.
I want to thank our special guests again. We want to thank everybody for joining us, and have a great day.